Okay, welcome to our crepe lesson. I'm going to go over the tools that you'll need and also the ingredients that you'll need to get started. So let's start with tools. So you'll need a bowl for your mixing. We're making a very small amount, so you don't need a really large bowl. You will need measuring spoons to measure out your wet and dry ingredients. You will need a leveler or a knife. A knife would work just as well. In order to mix your ingredients, you can either use a fork or you can use a whisk. Okay, either one will do the job. And then if you were to make a larger amount, you would use a ladle. And then how I like to flip them is after they're cooking, I like to release the edges with a rubber spatula, and it helps with the flipping a little bit easier. You will need a fry pan and a plate for your finished product. Okay? All right, so those are the tools that you need. Now your ingredients. So the two things that you will need to get out of your refrigerator is some milk and 1 egg. All right? In your bag that I have given you, you will also need flour, sugar, vanilla, salt, and then powdered sugar for the top. And then you need a little bit of butter that will help in your frying of your crepes. Okay, and then of course your recipe. All right, so your recipe. So in our recipe, I'm gonna go over the ingredients real quick. You'll need a milk, egg, sugar, flour, vanilla, and salt. Okay, so this batter is called a pour batter because it's going to be very liquidy. All right, so we are going to take all of our ingredients, we're going to measure them out, and we're going to put them in a bowl and just whisk them up. So let's start. I like starting with the egg. So you'll crack your egg, put your egg in your bowl. And I should have had a garbage thing, but I like to mix my egg up first so it's nicely mixed, so you don't have the separation of the yolk and the white. All right, so after that, you are going to add in your milk. So it's asking for 1.5 tablespoons. 1.5 tablespoons. So I have my tablespoon, but I don't have a 1/2 tablespoon on here. So I'm going to measure 1 tablespoon of my milk, and then I am going to, so there are 3 teaspoons in 1 tablespoon. So if I do 1/2 of 3 teaspoons, that's 1 tablespoon and 1 1/2 teaspoons of milk. So I'm going to do 1 teaspoon. Whoops, a little bit too much, that's okay. And then a 1/2 teaspoon. So I'm going to locate my 1/2 teaspoon. All right, so now I've added in my milk and my egg. So I'm going to mix that up a little bit. I personally like to mix things as I go. I just think it helps the product a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to add in my 2 tablespoons of flour. Remember, you need to level off. Okay, level off. So go ahead and get your flour, level it off. That's 1 tablespoon. And then I'm going to do a second tablespoon of flour. And I'm going to add that in. And again, I like to mix it up. That's just a preference. You don't have to. Okay, so I've got my flour, my egg, my milk. Okay, now I'm going to add in my sugar. Whoops. Sorry about that. I'm going to add in my sugar. And I need 1 tablespoon of sugar. This is going to add the sweetness. So if you were going to make the crepes and you were going to make them savory, you would just not add in the sugar. That would be the only difference. Okay, so I have a tablespoon of sugar. Got my sugar in there, mixing it up. again, because that's kind of the way I like to do it. I like to mix to make sure all my ingredients are incorporated. All right, I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. 1 teaspoon. This is what gives it that nice flavor, okay? So 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Hopefully I gave you guys enough in your bag of goodies. Okay, I'm gonna mix that up. And then just a dash of salt, which a dash is just a pinch, so I'm just gonna take a little bit of salt and add it in there. All right, so now I have a nice runny batter. That's why it's called a pour batter, okay? That's why it's called a pour batter. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my hot plate, about medium heat. I'm gonna take a little bit of my butter and I'm gonna melt it in here. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this butter and I want to melt it in here, and I'm gonna wait until it melts before I pour in my crepe batter, okay? So I'll come over and show you what my crepe batter looks like. Okay, it's nice and runny. All right, that's the way you want it. And remember, a crepe is a French pancake, and it's one of those that you want to fill it full of like fruit, or you can make it a dessert crepe. So you could actually add ice cream, chocolate syrup. We're going to put a little powdered sugar on top, but anything you have at home that is kind of sweet that you would like, that would be perfect. All right, so my butter's melting. I'm gonna get a nice coating on my pan. So I'm gonna wait till that butter all melts. I'm gonna get a nice coating on my pan. And hopefully by this time you guys have had an opportunity to mix up your ingredients and to get it all mixed perfectly. So now I'm just gonna pour a thin layer in my fry pan, just a thin layer. So with this, I should be able to make, and then I'm gonna twist it around because I want my crepe to cover the whole bottom of this small fry pan. And now we're gonna let it cook, okay? Gonna let it cook for a minute or two. And I noticed that there might be a little chunks that I didn't quite get out there. So we're gonna let this cook a little bit, and we don't have the magic of television because I haven't stopped and pause this. So I'm just cooking it through so you guys can kind of get a feel for how long it'll take. So now I'm checking my edges, and I know that it's not quite ready to flip, but they are pulling away from the side. It smells good. I can totally smell that, that vanilla flavor. Okay, so I'm gonna wait a little bit more, and I want it to kind of brown on the bottom before I flip it. Okay, now flipping it can be a little bit challenging. I'm not one of those experts that can just, you know, flip it in the pan. Well, let's try. Oh, nope, didn't do a very good job of that one. Don't try that at home. But I was able to save it, and it is cooking. So I want to let it get a little bit brown. And with this batter, I'm finding as long as I make it in a very small fry pan, I could probably make 3 or 4. So it's cooking up nicely. It's cooking up nicely. I probably could have put a little less butter in there because my pan is just, it's perfect. Okay, so here's what it looks like at this point. Okay, it's browning. And for me, I like it to be cooked a little bit more. I'd rather have it a little bit more kind of on the golden side than just yellow. So, ooh, that looks great. So there we go, that looks great. So now I'm gonna go ahead and plate it. So you can make 2 or 3 of these. So I have this plated. I'm going to add a little bit of chocolate syrup in the middle. I would, if I had fruit here with me, I would add some fruit. So maybe when I demo this with you guys. Okay, my chocolate syrup is not wanting to come out. There we go. Ooh, that didn't sound very good. Okay, and then I'm gonna move this up here. Then I'm gonna roll this up. So I'm going to roll up. Now you can do multiple things. You can roll it up or you can fold it in like a triangle. And then I'm gonna take some of my powdered sugar and just sprinkle it on top. Okay, and you can do this with a sifter or you can do it with your fingers. Okay, and that is our crepe.